Hi John, I'm making this video for you since you, I believe, want to introduce to China power cell technology. There's various different kinds. I sent you a link to the one I made in 2002. Actually three. There was a very, very powerful one I made for Thomas. It was almost 100 volts with a lot of amps, but it blew up. Then I made the other ones. One with 24 volts and I think a quarter of an amp. That's what we tested it out to be. Then we had the big ones like this. I took to Japan, right? Okay. Okay, this is the main core. Heavy, about 8 pounds. It's self-reactive material. When it gets hot, let's say outside, it shoots out quite a spark, at least an inch long. And when it gets cold, it does the same thing. I tested these. So how did I got an idea? I was approached by the RIA Trade Business Group years ago, and that's how I sort of got started with different clients over the years on alternative energy devices. Had a good partner, Grant Ramond, who's now in Hollywoodland, but okay, this is barium titanate, self-reactive material. I got it a long time ago, after inspired by a friend of mine in Canada, Pierre Sinclair, who bought a bunch of these from Fair Radio Cells in Ohio and was demonstrating them and their powerful spark and energy they put out. So I bought a whole pile of these things and thought, how interesting. So my first demonstration unit was about 8 of these inside a metal cage, and as one charged up, the other one would charge up and go sort of around in circles. That was an interest to RIA Trade Business Group. Joe Ho, president from China. Also Carl David Anderson. Who gave me, I think it was 10,000 at the time. That later turned into $250,000 from Germany and Japan, and another 100,000, and it went on and on, close to $1 million. But anyway, I'll try and explain what this does do. Okay, it's piezoelectric, ferromagnetic properties as well. I gave a demonstration to Dr. Hal Pudoff and George Hathaway when I was in the early stages of a small version. I thought, how would you sort of get this to be more reliable? I thought it over and I thought, well, yeah. I found some crystals on one of the Navy ships I worked on, which seemed to be self-reactive too, and that gave me more ideas. I did some experimental stuff. I put the crystals inside here. This is coated silver inside, and on the outside is one wound with fiberglass. U.S. Navy sonar detection equipment. I would say 1950s. The only ones I ever knew about were at Fair Radio Cells. Well, anyway, so I experimented around and found certain crystals. As the energy dropped from this, the crystals would pick up the energy and recharge it. So I had a set of crystals on the inside, I think about 50 crystals, wafers, frosted type, hydrofluoric acid treated, had them done at Surac and Goodfellas. How thick were they? I think about 1/16 of an inch or more thick. Treated with certain oxides. I got the receipts somewhere on all that. Maybe Thomas has them or the Japanese, I don't know. My thing was to make them and give them to the clients over the years. 10 years about. So anyway, I got one that would put out about 3 volts and about a quarter of an amp direct current. I had a stack of crystals inside that were self-resonating and a tuning unit on the top, the one you see in the Japanese photos and videos. It was tricky. You had to tune it a little bit on the top crystals. There's about 25 top crystals. About, where are they about? About 3/4 of an inch wide, 1/16 of an inch thick. That's kind of a resonant effect in the inner crystals. The outer coating of this was anodized aluminium seamless tube, black, that fit over this whole thing. Then on the top part it had a mounting for the other crystal set. It was tuning it much like a cat whisker or what they used to use a long time ago, like galena. And I actually did use galena for a while. So that was stable enough. I had to get a airtight container to transport to these different countries. To follow the laws and regulations of traveling with these things and even shipping them. These wires were twisted together so there'd be no sparks that set a fire. That's what Faraday would do. I don't know if it's charged now or what, but we can try it. No, not quite. It's very small amperes, milliamps, but very high voltage, and not a potential energy source. That's what it looks like on the inside. I got tape around it because it's a protected sort of. So I made these for the Japanese, big ones. I've seen me in the videos of me building them with my friend and colleague Grant Romand, a sponsorship of Thomas Messer from Germany. And they were very powerful. Now this one, probably there's something written on here, remnants of one of the power cells. You can hook it up to an oscilloscope and watch all the different waveforms. Now, my whole piece that I built for the Japanese as well as Thomas later on were tested at the Kyoto Institute of Technology, and they found that the resonant frequency is 18.5 kilohertz. Kyoto Institute of Technology. I think it was Takashi Ojiwara, chief scientist there, I believe. I got all the paperwork on it. Also, it's X-rayed too. Make sure no batteries and all that stuff, like most free energy claimers have batteries and stuff. So you eliminate all the doubts and everything like that. But yeah, this is one of the more advanced, if you want to call it advanced type. But I'm trying to think of the last ones I made. I think were for Thomas. Or was it later on, engineer from Tar Sounds, Canada, Richard Brewer. I made some with him. And we took him to Canadian Research and Development, who didn't really understand what we're trying to do, and suggested we take it to the military, which Richard didn't want to, although I did present to Dr. Bud Durand of DARPA the idea of these and got a response back. Got to search what kind of response I got back. But that's some of the ideas I had. I built some of these in Oregon using a bunch of RF type tuning intermittent frequency transformers that got some stuff running actually. But there was no interest, so I just gave up because I have an idea that they're interested. This is not one of my main interests, really. But that's basically some of the history on what I call a Japanese power cell system. Had to go through customs with this stuff. And they didn't know. Well, I kind of explained it. Somehow they knew. They didn't bother pulling it all apart and all that stuff. Although one of them was pulled apart that I shipped from Canada to Japan. Went through customs and it's all pulled apart thing. Mr. Hiroshi Yamabe sent it back to me. I repaired it and sent it, he came to pick it up personally. Flew in. I got many of his letters. I'll date your place exactly at 11 a.m. He would stay at the Sheraton Landmark Hotel. But yeah, so the crystal wafers, I made one that was lighter and smaller, the 24-volt one. But it got damaged, and I just said, well, oh well, you know. I was moving on to different things at the time. I never bothered to fix it or anything else. So the Navy ship had these crystals in a crystal oven, which I took apart. It was in a drawer called Classified. I think it was HMCS Saskatchewan warship. And my ideal was with the Artificial Reef Society ready to come to Canada. I'd help clean up the ship and get rid of electronics, clean the cannons and artillery, oil and grease, and get all a good medal for the project manager, Wesley Roots, his name is. Tex, one of the main guys there. And I did get him a lot of good metal, like 50 pounds of silver out of the gun director in the center part, which turned. So I had a lot of fun on the ships, about 5 years, up to 2000. I do it all over again, but anyway, back to these power units, yeah. I would think a team of scientists in China probably would figure out this here, since they're into microelectronics and rare earth metals like Sirac and Goodfellows. The other company which helped me out were, maybe still are, because they would grow their own crystals and actually analyze the stuff I got from the Navy ships. So the tuning is quite unique. Micrometer fed tuners to adjust the pressure on the crystals and also sideways and downward pressure to excite this whole thing, which had a number of crystals in the inside wafers. Once that sets up resonance with the mass of this, all in regards to mass, it set up quite a resonance. That's what the Kyoto Institute of Technology found out was 18.5 kilohertz the whole thing would run at. That would produce a good whopping voltage. At least 3 volts at the time, and enough amps to run a small motor. So it's important to build it exactly how I built these things. Like, how many did I build for customers? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 main customers or clients. I maybe built about 10 for all those customers over the years. As I said before, it's not an interest of mine, but if you can get ideas from this video, you could present it to your team. And there's a lot of videos I have on what my partners back then wrote up or put together. They're on YouTube actually. How the principle, how they work. There's other folks that have done this. Dr. Marcus Reed, and also Dr. Franklin E. Mead. has a patent on something like this, 0 point energy collector. That'd be December 31, 1996 already. And I found out that IBM was buying up all the patent applications. And that was years ago, so who knows what they're going to do with it, but hopefully this information helps you a little bit to understand these kind of power cells. And there's other types too that Nancy developed, I developed as well. So you may be interested in those. I've seen your video where they're going to not use lithium but sodium. Interesting concept. So the battery tech, I mean, if you had one of these guys, you could use it as a battery charger. But that remains to be seen, of course, with any of this kind of stuff. Which is, I suppose risky. You've got to have the right team to work with. And luckily I had the right teams or sponsorship back then. And almost got funded for production by China through the Reatrade first attempts of these things I made. So I met the president of Reatrade, Joe Ho. We would go out for dinner and talk about this stuff. Carl David Anderson, I don't know if these people are still alive, but would set up the investors, the Chinese, but they never showed up. It's got some interesting history. News media covered a lot of these things too. In Japan, main television station, as well as in Canada too. I think also in the USA. But again, actually, there was congressmen very interested in this stuff. Congressman Berkeley Bedell and Eleanor, his wife, would come out, visit me at the department. Dennis Kucinich was highly interested. He's a very busy person. And they send him metal samples and all that, so what I'm going to do is leave this here. When you show up, I'll show you what the main section of these Hutchison Power Cell, if that's what you want to call them, and call them John Hughes Power Cell Production Company. You never know. It just takes a small spark to get something really going good, So I'm going to wish you luck on this, and I myself am more interested in this kind of stuff these days. I should be a museum curator. So I'd love to have one of those Restigouche class warships. I think I would be a good curator. I'd get restoration going on them, but a lot of them are sunk now for artificial reefs. Like, oh my goodness! Let me stand up for a minute. I got T-shirts from the Reef Society. I'd wear them. Got the same one. I'm still building this here. Where are we? Where's my T-shirt? Here we go. There we go. HMC of Columbia. One of my prized possessions. I like to show off my abilities. But anyway, in these vintage electronics, there's all kinds of exciting exciter coils and unique types of coherers converted into more sensitive vacuum tube type devices. So a whole semblance in the old stuff. Really delicate too. Now these receivers are what they call regeneration receivers. They are a marvel of engineering. But anyway, I'm off topic, sorry. Beautiful guest, I like this. From John Hugh. He'll be here very shortly. And we're having fun. Oh, it's down here. So anyway, that's the story of the PowerCell, and more of it can be found out by my partners who've made videos on them. They're on Nancy's YouTube channel. Full testing and all of that of the PowerCells. This type and the other type I mentioned before, the 24-volt one. Then let's see, Grant did another video. He did a lot of videos, and he presented them, the smaller PowerCells. He presented them to William Shatner, Larry Hagman. I guess looking for funding, I suppose. But our main funder was Thomas, and as well as the Japanese. So anyway, that's the story on PowerCell stuff. I know there's a lot of research going on other things, but hopefully they'll be okay too. One of the most impressive scientists in regards to exotic technology I know of was Ken Shoulders, a very close friend of mine. He wrote letters on my behalf to Prince Hans Adam Liechtenstein. But I don't know, people earn money, I don't know. But I'm not complaining. I just did what I did do. When working on the Navy ships, I would work all day and come back at night, have my dinner and vitamins, and work on these for an hour or so. And that video, the most powerful one I made, Thomas rented a space for me to do the dangerous work, which was just a block away. Just behind the Iranian grocery store. That's a long story for another day, so I just wanted to cover this. Okay, you take care, John. We'll see you in an hour or so. I think it's getting close to that.